So back to India now, and that country has set another global record in new coronavirus cases today, reaching more than 379,000 confirmed cases in the last 24 hours. The Southeast Asian nation has reported more than 18 million positive cases, and the death toll is now over 204,000, though there are concerns that it could be much, much higher. This comes as millions of people in West Bengal are casting their votes in the final phase of elections today, and health experts worry that the long lines outside polling booths could further spread the virus. So joining me now to talk more about this crisis is Professor Mukulika Banerjee. She is an associate professor at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Thank you so much for joining us. An election, elections are difficult to reschedule. We tackled that very same thing in this country, an election in the middle of a pandemic. But I think of the crowds and it makes me nervous. India continues to set records for new infections, seemingly by the day. Professor, you say Prime Minister Modi is to blame for the current situation. Why do you say that? What were the mistakes that you think were made in handling this outbreak so far?
Okay, thank you. There are several things that have gone wrong. Given the scale of the pandemic, there are various things the government should have been doing in the last 12 months, right? So first thing is it should have been increasing its testing capacity. The testing capacity now is very low. As you reported, the number of cases being identified now is way lower than is actually the case, because simply there is no testing capacity. There was a need for investing in that capacity in these last 12 months. Secondly, a vaccine program needed to be outlined, put in place, which is frankly a mess at the moment. And thirdly, the Prime Minister of India enjoys a huge political capital, as the world knows. He needed to have led from the front. The reason why people are angry today with Prime Minister Modi in particular is because here is a Prime Minister, an elected official, who has spared no effort in forcing the idea down everyone that he is the supreme leader, that he is in charge. If anything good happens, it is down to him. And when you have this kind of personality-driven, centralized power in a parliamentary democracy, when things go wrong, understandably, a lot of the popular anger is directed at him.
Well, one of the things, one of the things that we have seen really across the globe, but certainly here in the U.S., is that how a leader handles the pandemic can have a tremendous impact on their success at the polls. I find it interesting that, and I understand that it would be difficult probably to sort of organize a mass mail-in voting campaign in India, but as I understand it, Prime Minister Modi is actually encouraging people to show up at the polls and vote, which I just can't understand. How is he justifying this call, this encouraging people to gather in a central location?
One thing one has to understand about Prime Minister Modi and the people closest to him, the Home Minister Amit Shah, is that they live for elections. Elections are an end in itself, it seems, for this particular government and this political party. So winning elections is the most important thing on their agenda. In this case, Bengal, that you're reporting from today, it's in its final phase of polling today. The polling was conducted over 8 phases. Now, the reason for this is because the BJP doesn't have majority in this particular state. Remember, there are 29 states in India. This is one of them, but this is one of the largest states and one that the BJP is desperate to win. The reason why the polling was spread out over 8 phases was to allow the ruling party, the Prime Minister and others, to campaign consistently across these phases, because the political organization of their party in this particular state is relatively weak. So they need the star power of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister to be campaigning. And the sad thing is, and I say this as an observer of Indian elections for over 20 years. Indian elections were the pride of India. It's the world's largest electorate. It's the world's largest democracy. It has a huge voter turnout because people had faith in the system. But what has happened now, one of the reasons why people had the faith was because the Election Commission of India was an institution of probity. People had faith in this public institution. But unfortunately, for the first time, we are seeing this institution stands compromised. Everybody reckons that the reason why why the Election Commission of India decided to hold the election over 8 phases was really to favor the ruling party, the government in power. So this is a man-made disaster. We could have had the West Bengal elections in one day. You could have, India's capacity for organizing large public events efficiently is fantastic. This could have been done. Another state, the 4 states have gone to polls. Tamil Nadu has a very similar sized electorate to West Bengal. The BJP doesn't have any hopes of winning there. So that election was held in 1 phase. But the same population size in West Bengal is being held over 8 phases, thereby multiplying the risk for the entire state over a period of several weeks. This is the man-made disaster.
Mm-hmm. Professor, before I let you go, I just want to get a sense of, I guess, where your sort of heart is. When you think about the state of your country right now, the state of India, what comes to mind? How do you feel?
Wretched, really. It is. It shames me. As an Indian, I'm a very proud Indian that has been very proud about India's achievements in the past. India has fantastic intellectual expertise. It has efficiency. It has capacity in the country. It has money. But unfortunately, what is happening, when one looks at the scenes on your screens now that we've seen splashed across international publications and media all over the world of people gasping for air, people cradling children who are dying because they don't have oxygen. It angers me, it anguishes me, because this could have so easily been avoided. If experts had been listened to, if planning had been put in place. Instead, what you got was hubris way too early, a whole set of vanity projects, winning elections, building new buildings in the middle of India's capital, New Delhi, inviting people to come and celebrate religious festivals, bathing in their thousands in the rivers, saying this is one that all Hindus should be doing, thereby not only putting in place what needed to be done, but not doing those, and instead multiplying the effect of the pandemic by sheer carelessness and utter hubris. It is horrific.
Well, I mean, finally, we are hearing, it is horrific, and finally we are hearing about at least some international help. Hopefully it is coming in time. India was incredibly successful at the beginning of this pandemic, and so, success can come again. But we need to talk about it. We need to let people know what's happening. Professor Banerjee, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.